cold. Ribbon blackout. Welcome back to Shade Tree Hot Rods, where we are getting a custom drive shaft made for Duke. So this is a normal drive shaft, right? Typically, you're going to have a yoke, which slips into the transmission, and there are threaded bits inside here that kind of, there are splines, not threads. Oh no. There are spline bits in here that line up with the, so these are internal splines, then you have the external splines on the transmission, at least in Blue's original transmission's case. This just slides up on there, good and dandy. This is your fixed flange end, right? So it's got 4 bolts. That end connects to the differential or the rear trunk, the rear end. I don't care what you call it. It connects to the back. Now, our problem is both our transmission and rear end have this fixed flange design. So we're going to have to get what's called a slip joint drive shaft. A slip joint drive shaft basically has splines, internal splines on one half of it, and external on the other, and it slides over itself, and it allows movement because your rear end is going to be moving. Just how it works. It has to be movement. The only way around it is to have a slip joint for our occasion. I'm pretty sure due to length, we can have a one piece, but we're gonna have to take a measurement and find out. To do that, we're gonna mount the transmission to this engine, and then we're gonna measure it, and we'll show you how to do it. All right, trans, bolted to the engine. Trans mount, bolted to the truck. Now we need to take this off. There's a bolt and a nut right here on the other side that you can't really see. So we're gonna have to take those off, and then we'll get our measurement. And there is a long spline, smooth spline coming out of the back of this.
Yeah, that locates it. The adapter will be able to receive that. Worst case, you just film it.
So are we gonna have to find an adapter and then get a measurement off of the adapter? Say no.
With it being a slip joint, it'll be about the same thickness as that. Plus, on the website, you should be able to get the thickness of the flange.
So we're going to take that off. We're going to take a measurement from the flange of the transmission to the flange of the rear end. We're going to have that. We're going to try to find a mount. It's going to, or an adapter that's going to fit. Then we have to figure out its measurement, take an educated guess, and then send that to our drive shaft guy. There is absolutely no way that this can go wrong. Isn't that right, Christian? We're going to measure from here all the way down to that flange for the rear. All right, so we're coming up with right at 58.5-ish inches. All right, now, like Christian was talking about with the adapter, it's also going to be kind of like a spacer because it's going to kind of have to fill, you know, it's going to have to bolt in and cover that centering needle.
Hello, Moto.
Hello, Moto. It's gonna have to fill that. It's gonna have to cover a little needle that's coming out. Anyways, probably be about an inch. So we're looking at 57.5 inches roughly. When I was talking with our drive shaft builder, he said he would love to see it under 60 inches for a one piece. So let's go try to find an adapter. Now that we got the measurements for the drive shaft length coming straight off of the flange, the factory flange of the transmission, not counting that vibration dampener, we got 58.5 inches. My transmission, or my drive shaft builder told me that he'd like to see it under 60 inches, so we're there. But what's even better is I found the flange that we're gonna need. So this is at driftmotion.com, right? This is Mark IV GS SC 3-bolt, 4-bolt, 1350 flange, which the 1350 flange is just a the universal joint that they're wanting you to use on it. That's what that is. So we know that this thing is about 1 inch thick billet adapter, okay? So that takes our overall length that the drive shaft needs to be to 57.5 inches at its smallest, which is perfectly fine. Now, it says that we're having to measure the bolt holes, metric at 90
0.5 millimeters, same as 3.57 inches. I don't have the flange in front of me, but what I do have is the vibration dampener that we took off and the digital caliper. That's about 3.57 inches. I don't know how well it's coming through. Try it like this. So that's roughly center to center right there at 3.57. So we'll go ahead and switch it over to metric, which it's asking for 90.5, and this is showing 90.7, just to be clear. And that is roughly what we need. So we're gonna need the small bore or the small pattern. Also, something I forgot to mention, a little wiki search shows that we're actually using an A340E transmission, or a 30-40LE. The engine, or the car that it came out of, was a 94 LS400, which I'm just reading off the wiki page to confirm. And now we know it is a 4-speed. We're gonna have to get a shifter as well, and so now we know we gotta get the 4-speed because there are some 3-speed variants, just not for this application. Awesome.
You've already seen the video of us putting the Ford 88 as an Explorer into blue. Well, instead of going back to a junkyard, we're just gonna take this one out of blue and put it in Duke.
I'll let you get back to it. I was just letting you know I did forget, but then I'll remember. So I technically didn't forget if I didn't call you.
Oh, yeah.
Rear end, small unboxing. We did attempt to cut the spring purchase off of our old rear end and decided we didn't want to do that. So we went to eBay. That's how all hot rods are built now, eBay. These are our new leaf spring purchase. They go generally right there. We're gonna go for about 3 degrees up for pinion angle. So these are gonna be in reference to the pinion 3 degrees down. We're gonna achieve that by an iPhone. First things first, we're gonna clean this up with a little flap wheel, and then this thing's got these nubs on it right here. It's got 3 per side, same on that one. It doesn't let it sit fully down. We're gonna trim those off, and then we're gonna tack it, see how it fits.
Alright guys, we've got it stripped down, got the wheels on it. We're about to roll it up under Duke. Since we're going axle under the leaf springs, we can, instead of tacking the perches down, just set it on, get the U-bolts and bolt it under the truck, and then we can adjust it how we want it once we get it pushed to the garage, and then final welded.
A little spongy, huh?
Oh, dude. Fine quality, man. You want to ride like a Cadillac.
We got the rear end in. I didn't intend on this, but we are going to pair our custom drive shaft and our rear end into one video. That's fine. They kind of go hand in hand. I just don't know how long things take. Anyways, rear end is in quotation mark mocked up. There's no welds. Everything's straight bolted in. We will have to make the final welds onto the leaf spring perches when we get the rear the drive shaft, so that we can make sure our pinion angle is correct, and that we order the proper length drive shaft, because that would be very unfortunate.
Worst case, it's too long and it can be cut down.
No, worst case, it's too short and we can do nothing about it. Look, I'm just gonna do this like this. Oh, ooh. Hold. You good?
Yeah, I held when you said held it. It's decided I'm rotating anyways. I think that's a little bit too much.
Hold still. Oh, please don't fall right now. Gosh damn. It's gonna rotate though, isn't it?
No.
Oh. Oh.
Let it down.
No. That. It's rolling backwards. You need to watch the jack stands. Yeah. Oh, fuck. So we're about to weld the rear end in place. What we did is we centered it up. We centered the rear end on our initial measurements. We
We haven't taken an after because whatever. We measured from, what do you call that? That clip that we were measuring off of? We measured off of the mounting plate to the spring perch, okay? On our driver's side, we got 6 inches, and on our passenger side, we got 5 5/8 inch, giving us a total difference of 3/8 of an inch, or for our purposes, 6/16, because we need to split that in half. So we had to pretty much move 3/16 of an inch to the passenger side. We either got bang on or we're 1/16 off. I don't think at our level that's really going to make much of a difference to us. Christian's now going to explain the pinion angle that we chose, or that we ended up with, and how we got to it.
For drive shaft bind purposes and vibration purposes, we had to try to match pinion angle at the transmission and the pinion as close to matching as possible, but you want to leave some room in there for it to rotate up when you accelerate, because
For what to rotate up?
the pinion to rotate up, because when you accelerate, the rotation of the drive shaft is making it do this.
Building hot rods. Sometimes it's not even the hot rod.
It's your equipment.
Yeah. I was a little careless with our MIG welder, and the cable to the gun has a kink in it somewhere, and so we can't feed wire anymore. We got all of one tack, and it broke. So I have to source a new, either maybe I can borrow a welder until I can get a welding gun, because they're like $200, and all of my money is currently going into this project at the behest of my wife, or I just sleep in the doghouse for a few days and go ahead and get the gun. We'll see. I'll see you in a few days. But on the bright side, it's centered and the pinion angle set. Here's the deal. The welding gun broke that we were using. The cable got a cinch in it, so the wire would just bunch up and it wouldn't feed. Bad news. I borrowed a buddy's welder. I got Duke set up, getting ready to weld the brackets in and everything. I don't have the power supply for it. I just didn't grab it. So it's done, but it's not done. The welding part isn't that severe. I'm just going to be running a bead over where the bracket connects to the rear end. That's all it is. But the rear end is in. We got the 17s on. Obviously not stock ride height. We are still on jack stands. But we needed that for the larger center bore for this rear end, because the factory rear wheels would not fit. This is what the slip style drive shaft we're talking about is. So this piece right here actually will slide in and out of this part. So this little piston goes inside this sheathing. You can see our adapter bolts right up. It's 3 bolts on the transmission side to 4 bolts on this side. It's some kind of 1350 U-joint bolt style. And then of course comes back to our rear end. This is regular Ford 8.8. I've only got 2 bolts in it right now just because we're kind of mocking everything up. But it's, you know, regular Ford 8.8 mount on this flange for the rear end. But I mean, it looks not bad. It's a little rusted just because we didn't paint it, and I don't really plan on painting it. I don't really plan on painting it. But she's in there. She's looking good. And with all due honesty, I mean, it's probably within about 4 degrees, tail end kind of to the passenger side. Not a big deal. Not very concerned with it. It's going to do us good for our purposes. So it's looking good. Anyways, that's the rear end and drive shaft video. It's awesome. It's fun. This is what we need to make this work. We've only got a couple big hurdles left to cover, and then hopefully fire up comes soon. That's my plan. So we're going to keep working on Duke, keep doing what we can. We're going to get there in November. Until then, this has been Shade Tree Hot Rods, and we'll see you later.